Hi guys, welcome back to this video. And in this video, we are going to talk about AWS code deployment service. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit, concepts, and then we go to the actual demo for this topic. So, what is code deploy? It's a service that automates code deployments to any instances. So it means it could be a EC2 instance running on Amazon Cloud, or this could be an instance in your data center, like a virtual machines, like a VMware virtual machine or any physical server. So basically, this is an agent-based solution. So wherever you have the agent running, that can be used to deploy. Code deploy can be used to communicate to the agent to deploy your application code. So helps rapidly releases new features, helps avoid downtime during the application deployment. What it mean, if you have, let's say, 10 servers, you have an option to go batch by batch or one at a time, or um, everything at once, like that, kind of blue green kind of deployment, and automate the software deployment. So by integrating this code deploy with any other third-party tool like Jenkins or any other CA CD, like continuous integration and continuous deployment kind of tools, you can automate this code deployment process. So let's see the high-level architecture, how it works. So the developer's machine, they are going to have a deployable content, which is nothing but your application source code, and the additional one app spec file. We will see what is app spec file. Basically, that's the file which is going to tell how to deploy, where to deploy, and those informations into the instance. And CodeDeploy is the service which we are going to use. Uh, you know, this is the kind of service, as well as there are EC2 instances with agents running on each instance. All the gray boxes are the agents which will be already which will be installed on every EC2 instances, and these agents will keep on communicate to the AWS code deploy service. And how the entire deployment process goes is the developers keeps their content in the local desktop, and they can push it to the S3 as a repository, or they can keep it in a GitHub. And whenever they wanted to deploy in the code deploy is going to pull the data from GitHub or S3 bucket, and then deploy it into the EC2 instance, either a single standalone EC2 instance or the instance part of the autoscale, also autoscale as well as the ELB. So this is the high level architecture. And we talked about the no outage or no downtime deployment, how it is possible. So this is the method code deploy uses. Either you can do, let's say you have like 3 plus 3 8 services, 8 EC2 instances, or 8 servers in your deployment group. And uh, and whenever you deploy the package, either you can choose one at a time, so that any changes happen, it's go one by one, or half at a time, like batches, or all at a time. So in that way, you can decide how do you want to deploy your code within your production environment to keep it highly available. Okay, so configure an Amazon EC2 instance to work with the code deploy. So before you deploy, use this service, you need to ensure the following steps are followed in the EC2 instance, so that it can talk to Amazon code deploy service. Install, just do the yum update to ensure your instance is up to date, and install Ruby, and do install wget package, and then go to EC2 user home directory, and download the latest code deploy agent from this URL. Basically, the dollar region is the region from where you are trying to install the EC2 instance. For example, your instance is placed in US East 1. This will be like US East dot S3 dot blah blah. and then convert that as an installable file and do the installation. So this is the kind of step we may need to do it in the any of Linux server. I don't have a procedure for Windows. This is pretty much only for Linux. It could be Amazon Linux or CentOS or Red Hat Linux. And if it is Ubuntu, you may have to, instead of yum, you may have to use apt-get or whatever the appropriate command. So don't worry if you have thousands or hundreds of server, you don't have to run this manually. You can add these steps in a user data script in a EC2 instance build, build phase, so that this will be taken care automatically. You don't have to type it all the time. But remember, this is the high level step we may need to follow. And the second important thing is Git repository. You may have to assume in this demonstration I'm going to give you the scenario something like this. In my laptop I have a local copy of my sample application, and I'm going to push that to one of my Git repository by using this command like git init, git add, and git commit. And this is my URL for the git target. And then I'm going to I push my all content into my repository. From there, I'm going to deploy to my EC2 instances. So I assume you guys are familiar with Git. If not, this topic is not for Git repository or Git commands, but this is the basic command. Anybody can understand. And okay, this is another important thing: IAM roles. So when you prepare the EC2 instance for code deploy, before you do that, you need to take care of a couple of IAM roles. Two IAM roles are really important. One is IAM role for instance profile and IAM role for service profile. This is pretty much common for most of the Amazon Web Services. Whenever you use, you may have to create two kind of IAM profile to make it secured. One is the instance profile, another one is the service profile. What is instance profile? Whenever you attach the instance profile to the EC2 instance, that instance will read the underlying policy, and then it can talk to S3, or it can talk to other services like EC2 or autoscale, those things. What is IAM service profile? This is the role and the policy, the service itself. For example, in our case, code deploy itself use these policies to talk to other services like EC2 instance and other services. So I'm going to give you the walkthrough. Most of these policies and everything is pre-built policy given by AWS. You don't have to really create. All you have to do is attach the existing policies given by Amazon for this lab to complete it. So create two role. One is code deploy instance role, and attach the following existing policy: Amazon EC2 role for AWS CodeDeploy and scaling policy. And the second role where you just attach, AWS CodeDeploy role. Very, very important thing. Remember, when you create a service role, remember, very important, many people miss that. When you create a service role, you have to edit trust relationship to ensure the service is by default it will be ec2.amazonaws.com. You may have to change that to codedeploy.amazonaws.com. What it does is you are telling, hey, code deploy service is going to have a trust relationship, so that it can access the code deploy, can talk to any other services. That's the kind of stuff. So for more about what is trust relation, what is IAM role, what is policy, please refer the document. There are a beautiful public document is there. Anyhow, we are not going to talk much about that here. Okay. And remember, we talked about the scripts. That's the user data. I just made it very simple. You can just copy and paste this user data in at the time of your instance creation. So basically, it's simple bash script. We are getting the region by running this curl command. From any instance, when you run curl 169.254.169.254 with this, it's gonna grab the metadata information of that instance and get you the actual region of that instance. So this is the command pretty much used to pull all the metadata of the instance. For example, instance ID, private IP. There are so many things you can find out, by using this command. So here we are trying to get the region variable, and then yum update, blah, blah, all these commands we are running. Why we are getting the region? Just we wanted to, uh, when you download the code deploy agent for the instance, you just have to do the region, so you don't have to type it manually. So this command, this variable will be passed here, and this command will automatically go to the appropriate region of the EC2 instance and pull the data and install, and auto. So this is the script. It's a very pretty much simple script. And in the console, this is the step we are going to follow. I'll give you the demo. We're going to create application, deployment group, and then add instance. I'll walk through the steps, so that we will understand what it is. So that's it pretty much about this. This is CLI command. So let me not waste time on this demo explanation. Let's go to the actual demonstration. Okay. So now, so before I go there, I'm gonna show you a lot of things. So this is my, okay. Here is my sample application. I have a sample application for code deploy. I it is available in Amazon public document for under code deployment section. You can go and download that. I downloaded. So what it has is very important thing, which has this appspec.yaml. This is very important file. When you have your own code, application code, ensure you are updating the appspec file before you deploy it. Let's see what is appspec file. This is a YAML format file. Basically, this will tell my source is this, my destination is this. For example, when you copy the file from my code, the index.html file will be taken from my code, that's a source, and then it will be copied to where www.html under that location. So that's the idea. So because the index.html is part of our application bundle, which is so appspec file, we are telling, hey, this file, take it from me and put it under this location. So in my example, it's where www.html, you can change anywhere you want. And also, this is the hook section. This is a two section is very important, file section and hook section. So file section, pretty much, you can place your application content from any source, from your source to any destination. In the hook section, you are going to tell if you have any scripts, dependency script, stop server, start server. So any of these, before install, after install, all these scripts you can keep. So look at here in the same location. I have script directory. Inside this directory, I have installed dependencies where I will install my HTTP package, Nginx, whatever I want. And start server, that's a script. It basically just start the server. Stop server is going to just stop it. Let's quickly, so basically the appspec.yaml is the kind of metadata file which will be used by code deploy service to read your application content and deploy it into the EC2 instance appropriately. So if you have any mistakes over here, your deployment mostly will fail. So be careful on this one. And let's read in my application bundle. Let me go to scripts. uh, as I mentioned, I have three scripts: install dependencies, start server, stop server. So this is the three scripts. If I do install dependencies, basically I'm installing HTTP, and start server, basically it's nothing but starting the HTTP, and stop is same thing. So it's just stopping there, it's just checking whether that PID exists. If it is exists, it's just to kill that service. So this is I hope you guys familiar with this sample application. So now I have already Git repository created. Let me log into my GitHub. This is my GitHub, and I'm sorry, I already logged in. So I already created a repository, code deploy sample app. And if you don't know how to create, just register yourself and go and click here new. You can create a new repository. As I mentioned, we are not going to talk about Git much here. So go and create the repository, and the commands what I use to push from my local desktop these files from here to my Git repository is these commands, which I would like to quickly glance. Git add, git init, just to initiate your Git repository. Whenever you do git init, um, there will be a file will be created. It's called .git. Uh, this directory will be created. Inside you can see the actual git metadata, and then git add star. Basically I'm telling, hey, include all my data. That's the star. If you want specific you can do. And git commit, basically it just every time when you save or any ready for a pushing, just run a command git commit with the comment on it, so that let's say today you are updating something, after the tomorrow you are changing something. So this -m flag you can use to say what you are changing, what you are adding, what you are deleting, those stuff. And finally git remote set URL push region. Set the from my local, when you wanted to push, where to go. By setting the URL, I'm setting my URL. This is the URL. This is the URL. I got it from my this location. This is my actual uh, location. At the time of creation, you'll get the URL. Probably you can just get that. Um, so pretty much piece GitHub slash p symbol, that's it. And git push will be pushed from my local desktop, everything to go to this repository. So I just pushed, so all this data are here. I pushed this morning actually, so 7 hours before. So all my data is here. And important thing you need to note down in this one is your repository name. That is piece handle. That's mine. It's still public. If you want, you can go and download the sample application from here also, or you can clone yourself and keep it. And the commit ID, this is another important one. So the latest commit, this is the commit number. So these two are very important. So repository name and commit ID, that's the most important one. Okay, we are going to use it at the time of service creation. So now the phase one is done. My source code is in my laptop. I created the repository. I pushed into my Git repository. Okay, I got my repository name. I got my commit ID. That's it. Now, second step, I need to go to my console and create an instance. Let me create a instance. When I create an instance, uh, this is a lab, so I'm just creating a sample instance. I mean, I'm creating a free tier instance. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Amazon Linux, and then T2 Micro. That's a free tier, and configure instance detail. Very important. You need to choose the appropriate role. I created two roles. I'm sorry. Let me go back quickly, because there are two roles I created. I just wanted to walk through the roles before I create the instance. So to save the time, I just created the role well before this lab, but still I would like to quickly glance it so that you know what it is. Go to IAM. Before even you create the EC2 instance, it's very important. Create a role. Remember in the PPT we talked about two IAM role. One is an instance role, another is the service profile role. That's the thing we are going to create. Go to roles and simply create a role. Click on create a role, and then just type whatever the name, and then create a role and select. Here you have all the existing policies are there. Just use this policy. Amazon EC2 CodeDeploy policy. These are all the existing policy. You can choose it, and also this policy, auto scale policy. So in fact, I already created those roles. The one is code deploy instance role. Let me show you this code deploy instance role. The two policies I already attached. If you want to know what is the policy, go and select the policy, show policy. It's nothing but it is giving the permission for S3 get object, list object, all those things. And so that if you have, anyhow, our demo is for connecting to GitHub to pull the data, not from S3, but still, if tomorrow if you want to try with S3, just keep it with you. And auto scaling, you are telling your EC2 instance can talk to auto scale for send SMS notification, those stuff. That is also another role. So please attach these two roles. And the second role is code deploy service role. This it gives you the service. This is also Amazon anything orange cube service. It's an existing service create existing policy created by Amazon. You can just make use of it. In this policy, we are telling the service code deploy service can get the permission to talk to autoscale, talk to EC2, talk to SNS. So this is the permission we are giving. So that tomorrow when you deploy code deploy as a service, it will have a privilege to go and talk to the autoscale and run a describe instance to find the instance and deploy the code, or it can go EC2, just find the list of instance and look for a particular instance and deploy the code. So that's the idea of it. Okay, that's exactly these policies. And don't forget to add the trust relationship. Go to trust relation and edit trust relation, and ensure this is code deploy. Very, very important. Ensure this is code deploy. This will by default it will be EC2. Make this code deploy. So these two policy roles I already created: code deploy instance role, service role. So now let me go back to the instance creation. Okay, so I'm going to the instance creation, EC2, launch an instance, and select the instance, micro, select the instance. I'm launching this in a default subnet. It is going to come with a public IP and everything. And for an instance, I need an instance because we are launching instance. So I'm going to attach the IAM role code deploy instance role, and then in the advanced detail, this is very important. In the advanced detail, I'm going to click here and I'm going to use my script. The scripts are here already. This is the script. And I just copy and paste it. It's a simple, probably you can type it from by seeing the video. You can type. It's all very simple script. It's just 10 line. Then install blah, blah, those things. Very simple script. So anytime when you launch an instance, this will be taken care. Review and launch and use my key and launch the instance. So the instance is getting created now. I'm just naming this as a code deploy lab, something like that. Okay, so the instance is coming up. While this instance is coming, let's go and so we did two steps. Remember I got a copy of my software application code, which I pushed it to Git repository, and I came to console and created IAM roles, two role, instance role and service role, and I created a instance by attaching the instance role by adding the user data. So what is the user data doing? Which is nothing but user data installing HTTP and installing the appropriate code deploy agent into the instance. So that's the part of this one. And now finally we are going to work on code deploy itself. Let's go to code deploy. Okay. So create a new application. I already have one application. So you can go back. I'm sorry, code deploy. I already created one application. Forget about that. I'm creating the new application, which is code deploy lab application. Okay, application is the name of the application. I mean, I don't have to explain. Deployment group. So every application can have multiple uh, environments. For example, stage, prod, test, those things. So you can group the application, and then you can have multiple deployment group. So deployment group is nothing but the group of different environment. So I'm going to say lab. This is like stage group. One stage group deployment is success, then I will create one more group for production or test or something. Okay, so stage, and I'm going to add a EC2 instance. I can use the key name so that whenever I use the name as a tag. Remember, I have three instances. It just display all the tag names. I'm going to choose the code deploy lab. You can choose the different names also, but anyhow I don't want. I'm just going to install this on only this one. This is nothing but mapping your EC2 instance based on the tag value. So just one instance. Okay. So it is not necessary you have to tag only one kind of name. For example, code deploy lab 1, lab 2, lab 3. If you have 20 instance, you can map everything. Or you can tag everything with the same name and it will list like 20 instance, whatever way works for you. So this is the time we need to mention, how do you want your deployment goes? All at a once, one at a once, off at a time. So I'm just saying one at a once because I already have one instance, just one at a time. And very important, remember we create two IAM role. One is instance role. We already attached to the instance. This is a service role. I'm going to attach to the code deploy service role. I'm going to attach to the service because IAM, the service itself needs some permission. So that's the idea. So create application. So application is getting created now. So application is created. That's fine. Let me quickly see how is my instance going on. It must be ready now. Available state because it's a very small instance I created. Code deploy, it's in the running states. Probably let me, yeah, I can connect to this instance also. I'll connect it later. Um, Now I'll go and create a new deployment. So this is the application name we created, right? Code deploy. So now I'm going to select this lab stage. That's the new deployment group. I'm going to say action, deploy the new version. So I'm initiating this process. So once again, I'm choosing code deploy is the application and stage is the deployment group. So here is the two thing. Either I can pick my code from S3 or GitHub. For this lab, I'm using GitHub. If you use S3, you can upload to S3 and mention the S3 bucket name or URL. For us, it's GitHub. And connect with the GitHub and just click on connect with GitHub. I already set up my auth file and everything, so that's what it isn't asking me a password. When you do first time from your browser, it may ask you the email ID and password of your GitHub URL. I already done it, so that's what it didn't ask. So remember, for you it may ask, so just give your password and URL. And repository name, so my repository name is this one. And code commit ID, my commit ID is this one. That's the recent committed and one at a time. Okay, cool. And deploy now. So that's it. So my deployment is going on. This is my previously, every deployment will have a one deployment ID. This is my previous deployment for a different application. So this is the one we are doing it now. This is a new deployment ID for application code deploy lab for a deployment group lab stage from this location. It just started and just refresh it and it is staying in progress. So you can click on progress. It will tell hey, I'm running on it's in progress. Okay, you can click it on view instance. You can go even inside and look at the which instance. This is the one of the instance we are deploying, which is in progress still. So click on this progress. It should be, you should see a little bit more information from here. Just wait for a second. While this is going, I would like to log into the server and see how it is actually behaving. Just give me a second. Okay. Um, okay. I wanted to log into my server. Oops. What is my server? Let me go to my server so that I can show you some of the progress and logs and those stuff. So you can watch from the server side also. Connect. Connect to my server. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is my server where the deployment is going. So where can I see the thing? Where log AWS two things, opt code deploy. Let me see whether the agent is installed. Oh, I don't see the code is agent is running. Let me see if that any mistake I did, because remember the startup script what we followed. If the if the agent is not running, of course the code deployment will fail. It's not going to complete. Maybe when I copy and pasted my script, something wrong with that script. Let me run this and see how it is I can do. Agent data search. I'm running the script manually to see how it is working. Switch modes on 5 code deploy. Code deploy. Okay, this is supposed to be executed part of the user data script. Maybe I'm not sure whether I copied properly or not. Grep for code. Okay, see now code deployment agent is running fine. That's the process agent is running. So I don't know what it is missed. Maybe something wrong. But anyhow, the moment I install the agent, I see the deployment went success. I can click on the event. It shows, hey, application, application is downloaded, and in the script before install, after install, whatever the app spec file, those processes completed, and overall my deployment is success. If I go here, it will tell me, it succeeded 36 seconds ago. But I'm not sure why my agent installation isn't completed properly. Probably when I copy and paste, I did some mistake, but technically what I would do, maybe I copy it from notepad, PPT, copy and paste it in a notepad, and then ensure there is no delimiter or anything before you copy and paste it in user data portion of installation. So now the code deployment is success. Everything went well. So how do I check? There are some troubleshooting tips. If you wanted to check, go to cd. If anything failed, log AWS code deploy agent. So this is the place. Anything agent related logs you can find from here. The agent is not starting or struck or failed. Anything related to that, you can check from here. This log, code deploy agent log, agent dot log. Okay, we just install so everything is clean. I think my cd log AWS code deploy agent. My copy paste is kind of code deploy agent. Okay, so this is the agent related log. If any issues and errors, we can take a look on this one. Everything is info, no warning, these things. And related to the deployment, so there are two kind of log. One is about the agent, another thing about the deployment. For the deployment, go to opt code deploy agent, and here you can see something called deployment dash root. Go to cd deployment dash root ls, and this is your deployment ID. Go to B02, blah, blah, and you see, go to this is your actual short form of your deployment ID, what you see in the console. D end with VKTG, and with it's the same thing. Go to the directory and ls, and this is where your application bundle is downloaded, like a bundle.tar, and then it has been placed to the appropriate location. And there is a log file. Go to logs, and it has output of your scripts and everything is here. Okay, so this shows my deployment went success. So now if I go to my EC2 instance and pick the IP, it should be have my security group open for 80, I should be able to access my application HTTP for everybody, and then go there. There you go. Application was successfully deployed into the instance. So that instance 58 is running fine. Uh, that's the new instance code deploy lab instance IP. So which we just deployed the application by using code deploy service. So that's pretty much what we talked in this lab. We covered almost everything. And one another thing what I would like to cover here is when you create a deployment, you can create a new deployment anytime and create a new application or choose the same application deployment group. And instead of EC2 instance, what I would like to say is when you create a new application, um, this time test whatever, and instead of EC2 instance you can choose auto scale group also. For example, your application you want to deploy behind the auto scale, so that based on any event like CPU spike or memory or network, that should scale in and scale out. So you can build a server, and take an AMI and create an auto scale. There is another video in my channel. You can refer how to create auto scale. So take the choose the auto scale group and go to the auto scale. Mention your auto scale group name, so that your deployment will be taken care for all the instance under the auto scale. So anytime your scale up or scale down happen, the new instance comes. Code deploy service knows hey, this is part of code deploy, and it automatically add your deploy the deploy the application into your autoscale instance. But ensure when you create an autoscale group, that's going to be the same process. The IAM role has to be attached, and then create an AMA out of it. And same thing for on-premise instance. For example, you have a in-house your office VMware or any physical server. You can install the agent over there, and even that agent you can configure in this group to of course, for that agent to talk to the endpoint, you must have some kind of connectivity like VPN or something, so that you can within a same application and deployment group, you can deploy for Amazon instance plus your on-premise instance. For on-premise instance, the good thing is the code deploy, the service, the overall service is actually free of cost. Amazon won't charge. The charge is basically for the underlying resource like EC2 instance, underlying network and those stuff. For anything for on-premise instance, I think for every deployment, Amazon charge you 2 cents or something. It's very minimal for every deployment to the instance. They'll charge very minimal amount. So please refer the public document for the pricing and everything. That's pretty much. I'm sure this will be helpful for you. This presentation and videos. I'm creating a separate website to copy the content of the PPT also for you guys to download. I'll post you shortly. That's it. Thank you.